Good afternoon. Are you hearing us well? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for joining our session today here, and today we'll talk about the empowering the coastal communities through natural-based solution. This is really a very important topic for today's, and what all the countries and all the coastal communities are facing from the natural hazard. Here there is a critical importance of building community resilience against evolving oceanographic and oceanic land base. This event will explore the significance of implementing a natural-based solution to safeguard coastal community and to preserve marine ecosystems, and to execute national adaptation strategies effectively. So with our esteemed panelists, we will try to examine the existing knowledge gaps that need to be bridged, and also to discuss around and identification the most impactful and suitable natural-based solutions, and also the tools to navigate through the uncertainty and adapted to changing the environment. I am Suzanne El-Gharabawi, the Vice President of the Marine Hazard Mitigation Center of Egypt, and also the Vice Chair of IOC Africa, and it's my pleasure to be the moderator for this session for today. Our team panelists that we have today: Dr. Vladimir Repenin, an advisor of Scripps institution, and he also the former president, the former executive secretary of the IOC and UNESCO, Gramenos Mastroeni from the UFM, Union for the Mediterranean, Dr. Kalina Grab from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, Professor Amr Hamouda, the president of from the Marine Hazard Mitigation Center, and we have online Dr. Muhammad Ali representing the UNDP. First, we will start with Dr. Vladimir Repenin, and he will talk to us about what is the key natural-based solutions that can be empower the coastal communities, and how do they differ from the traditional methods, approaches, and also how do natural-based solutions could help in preserving marine ecosystem, and what specific ecosystem should be prioritized to maximize benefits for coastal community. Please welcome Dr. Vladimir.
Thank you very much, Susan, for inviting me to speak in front of this group, and also in front of the panelists. So we're going to do a joint work, and I have to immediately apologize because I won't be able to answer all the questions that Susan asked me to. But you know, that is kind of my nature. My job was basically, I think, to create an enabling environment for addressing several issues in ocean. And in this particular case, the topic was relatively new to me, and I thought whether it was my problem or it was a larger problem. So I started to dig a little bit into what is the definition of nature-based solutions, how they're moving forward, and this is basically my very holistic conclusion on the subject. First of all, you know, we think about the new paradigm of how we can live in a better harmony with the ocean. And despite the word harmony kind of is not very kind of managerial word, I think our new mantra is that in order to live in harmony with the ocean, we need to learn how to manage the ocean sustainably. That means not only managing the water in the ocean, also ourselves, our behavior in relation to the ocean. And there are different ways of doing so. They would involve coastal zone management. That will put in the context of the COP29. There is a lot of work focusing on how we can adapt to climate change, how we mitigate climate change. Decarbonization is an important element. And of course, everyone knows about the role of blue carbon and many other things there. So we are losing systems, I think, you know, without even realizing how fast this is happening. This pertains to coral reefs. This pertains to many other ecosystems in the ocean. We have to basically protect them. We also have to somehow restore them. And and this is probably because you're here, you're the expert on this. I'm not. I'm basically trying to create for you the science environment that is going to enable your actions in the ocean through nature-based solutions. So in terms of definitions, I just found one that is referring to the European Commission. So the solutions are inspired by nature, they are suggested by nature, they are for nature, and they involve human in a minimal way. So, but my understanding basically of where we are in this field is that we haven't developed the notion enough. We haven't co-designed the natural-based solutions. We indeed are focusing on ecosystems and much less on how we can holistically see this in the context of blue economy, in the context of climate change, and also in context of who is doing what. Now, I recently saw a paper on nature-based solutions in the Mediterranean. So for our panelists, this will be, I think, like an easy walk at home. But for me, it was I was trying to understand, make sense out of that paper. And there are different ways of how you can indeed introduce various types of nature-based solutions. And the level of human intervention into Mother Nature basically determines that. So if we can just have low, medium, high human intervention, then for me the next step would be engineering. And then actually I would like to say that according to what I understand, conservation and protection can be achieved with very low level of intervention. And only if we are in a very big trouble, then we can resort to engineering and things like this. Of course, this to me, and we had recently had a discussion, that was the previous session about geoengineering. So how we can move forward on carbon dioxide removal. So that is definitely the last resort. So in an ecological case, it will be the latest stage of cancer when you really need to apply chemotherapy. So that's the situation. We need to find a way of formulating this, developing the science of nature-based solutions. And, so for me, there is some I think, to some extent, parallel between the level of intervention in terms of invasivity of that intervention. And this was a very useful paper. So in terms of also natural-based solutions, there are many, too many to be presented for you. I just would like to give you the philosophy of this. And we need to understand the purpose, whether the likelihood of success of this, how you can manage that intervention, and also if it is really addressing the issues related to climate change. So, and this topic of this session is about how to empower coastal communities through natural-based solutions to make these nature-based solutions successful. So for me, I also thought that the more in harmony you work with Mother Nature, the more you conserve, the more you protect Mother Nature, then the more inclusive is that solution. So I think we have to find a way, and I just basically looking at the whole complexity of what's happening in ocean science, in ocean management, in ocean economy. I'd like to say that that in inclusivity of nature-based solutions. Can be achieved based on the level of invasivity of nature-based solutions. And for me, what is really missing in this organization, in this soup, would be one ingredient: ocean literacy. Because I think we moved forward on ocean literacy in IOC based on initial activities that happened basically in North America and Canada, and we started to educate the world. What is the role of ocean in their lives? What is the impact of human lives on human presence on the ocean? So that is the basis of ocean literacy. And we now learn how to make the ocean literate different types of communities. That would be students, that would be politicians, that will be businesses, this will be governments, and of course, general public. So the more we capitalize on the capacity of general public to do something in terms of nature-based solutions, the more ocean literate should be. So that, for me, I think my suggestion would be that we need to move forward in ocean literacy for nature-based solutions for the community that are going to be using them and designing them. This actually set of rules and set of number of toolkits simply does not exist. So that is basically my suggestion. And on top of that, from the most recent IPCC report, the assessment report number 6, there is basically, I think, conclusion that the window of opportunity for using nature-based solutions and thinking about coastal resilience and climate resilience is basically shrinking very, very seriously. If you look at this map, we see some shocks. The shocks they're shown here by like a little on the side. And this shock was attributed to COVID, but there may be some other shocks related to international relations, to conflicts in the world. So basically, my suggestion would be to move forward on developing ocean literacy branch for nature-based solutions and do it quickly because the window of opportunity is shrinking. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vladimir, for your nice presentation and informative, as usual. You just give us a quick look about the definitions and also some examples and the importance of ocean literacy that is very important for preparing the communities for what they are facing. Thank you so much. And now it's time to have Graminus Turini. I hope I pronounced the name well. He is a diplomatic and a senior deputy secretary general of the Union for the Mediterranean in charge of energy and climate change. Graminus today will be with us to talk about and give his insights from the area of the Mediterranean about the natural-based solutions and how the climate change affecting our Mediterranean region. And at the same time, please, Graminus, could you give us a quick introduction about the Union for the Mediterranean? Thank you. Please welcome Graminus.
Thank you. First of all, I have to apologize for two reasons. I have a name which is so difficult to pronounce that even me, I'm not able to. But I did not choose it. They gave it to me. And the second one, really sorry. I am among scientists and I belong to this quite number community that's called policymakers, diplomats, negotiators, things like that. But still, I would like to present reasoning in 3 steps. First, nature-based solutions. Second, the sea dimension and nature-based solutions. And then we zoom into the Mediterranean. Nature-based solutions. It's not the whole cause, but great part of the problem we are experiencing now is due to the fact that at a certain time we decided that it was more comfortable for us to substitute ecosystem services with artificial surrogates. And we massively embraced them without realizing that actually they're not even able to give a percentage of what the real service provides us. Probably you've all experienced a very hot day. We are accustomed to find a solution to the problem we've singled out, which is called refrigeration, by rushing into a mall, a shopping center, where indeed we got that segment, refrigeration. But it comes together with a lot of problems. Normally we sneeze, we have thermic shocks, the humidity percentage is not the right one. If instead we place ourselves below 2 degrees, it's the perfect temperature, the perfect humidity, the perfect sound environment, and so on. And why is it? It's because we co-evolved with trees during millions of years, but we co-evolved with shopping centers only during 20 years. So one first reply is that nature-based solution is simply giving back to nature its power to make us happy. And this is true in many, many, many senses. But still, society is not really prepared to it. We want to buy our service and to have it tailored in a comfortable way. We need to get into unreasonable feedback loops like it's hot, so I use my air conditioning, so I emit CO2, so it's hotter, so I have to use even more air conditioning, when we could just place trees in our cities. Things like that. So people have now developed a mentality that prevents them from really understanding the power. We are into a mentality that tells us we will solve it with geoengineering, whereas the solutions are stronger, more durable, and above all, they respond to all our needs, even those that we don't even know that we have, because we segment our expectations. It's difficult to market them here at the COP with the public when they are referred to our own environment, which is terrestrial. But then when it comes to the ocean, it's even more difficult. Forget about populations who have a deeper engagement with the ocean, like small islands, developing states. They know day-to-day what the ocean means and how important it is. But the ordinary urban dweller of Europe, the United States, or India doesn't really have a sense. So how can you sell nature-based solution for the ocean? Well, again, we are prepared to pay 2,000 euros for 1 ounce of gold, but we are prepared to pay nothing for 1 ounce of air. But if they give you the final decision, gold or air, you have to choose air. Means that we give value to goods and services not according to their objective usefulness, but according to a perception of scarcity. If we progrede the way we are doing into ocean acidification, for instance, there will be a threshold beyond which plankton and phytoplankton will be gone, but plankton and phytoplankton are the basis of the trophic chain in the oceans. It means that the whole marine life is jeopardized. And if you say it to, how would I say, can I call them our customers, which are our voters, those who mandate our ministers what to decide, they have self-centered reflexes like, oh yeah, that's so sad, but I live on land. None of my problem. Okay, 12% of the population lives out of products of the sea, 70% of the proteins that we eat come from the sea, but above all, 55% of the oxygen we breathe comes from the sea. And I'm not quoting a Marvel Comics episode, I'm quoting a Science magazine. This situation is particularly severe in the Mediterranean. It is the one sea that has been most exploited throughout centuries. In the middle of long-standing civilizations, and if these civilizations so ancient are there, it's exactly because there was the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean acted as a stabilizer of climate, and this made it possible that in a great proportion, the most important revolution in history, which is the agricultural revolution, happened in the Mediterranean area, not because there were smarter people, but simply because with a stabilized climate, you could plan agriculture. If you're in a place where you don't know when it rains, you don't think about starting to manage the territory. You need to be in a place where climate is particularly predictable and stable, so the Mediterranean gave us this. But now we are at the point in which all the basic parameters of this sea are totally overthrown. The Mediterranean is the fastest warming sea in the world. People know that the Mediterranean region is the second fastest warming, but as usual we think as terrestrial. The rest is, we might have an empathic embracing, but we think it's none of our business. But the Mediterranean is the fastest warming sea in the world. It means, for instance, I could go on forever, I don't have the time with describing all the problems that this gets, but let me just quote one. Being the fastest warming, it's also the fastest rising. Thermic dilatation. Up to 1 meter, even a little more than 1 meter by the end of the century, but it sounds so far away. Like, it's not my business, it's my grandchild business. Okay. But then we are forecasting a further increase in the level of 20 centimeters in 15 years. That is the day after tomorrow. If you see 20 centimeters, it doesn't scare anyone because people always think based on their being land-based. Maybe they can consider possible damages to marvelous and delicate cities like Alexandria or Venice. Or they think 20 centimeters, it will cover a little part of land, not a problem. They forget that it's not water covering, it's salty water entering into the coasts. My ancestors, the Romans, had a wisdom. Most of it was wicked. They used to say that if you want to dominate someone, you should win them at war. But if you want to never hear about them again, you should spread salt on their fields. Salt sterilizes. Look at our region. More than 40% of our food security relies on coastal plains. Coastal plains are sieged. On one side, you have the so-called water towers, the mountains, that should provide a regular output of water, but they don't work anymore because there are no more glaciers. There is no more snow cover. On one side, it doesn't work. On the other side, it's not going to work because it's saline water entering and sterilizing. There are places which are soft hotspots, the deltas of the rivers all over. And I will not talk about the delta of the Nile because we have the maximum experts here. But I don't want to end on a scary note. We calculate that only due to sea level rise there is a potential for destabilization and migration of more than 200 million people. And it's happening fast and soon. Let's go to the happy part. Nobody's taking care about that, but finally we are. We will be launching a general Mediterranean initiative to cope with sea level rise. And we have something in mind. We cannot decide. We are, an interstate organization. Our member states decide. But our suggestion to them is try to forget about, building those massive concrete walls. Because they are expensive. To produce them, you emit even more carbon dioxide. There are some plants that can do the job. I will conclude with one thing. Sometimes press misses the point. At last COP, they cheered so much some decisions about finance, and it's important. But if I was a journalist, I would have put front page the launch and backing, finally, of the Mangroves Initiative. That is what really shows the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Graminis, for your insights about the Mediterranean, and you really touched the truth with the sea level rise that we are all suffer in this region, and also the importance for the natural-based solutions, because as Graminis just mentioned, that the other traditional solutions are very, very expensive. And we lost lots of our lands because of the seawater intrusion and the sea level rise. And continue with the sea level rise topic, we will talk about. Now we will have Dr. Kalina Grab. She is a chemical oceanographer from Research Association at Marine Policy Center from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institutions from the US. And Dr. Kalina will talk to us about the sea level rise problems and also the coastal resilience and sea level rise programs they already had been did in Hui. So please welcome Dr. Kalina.
Well, thank you, Susan, and thank you for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. So today I'm going to showcase a little bit of research that has been going on at Hui and talk a little bit about the different types of mechanisms that are improving for us to understand better sea level rise. So sea level rise is rising faster, at rates faster than in the last 3,000 years. And there's a lot of improvements in technology that are enabling us to make these measurements so that we can understand the local variability. On the right here, you can see Dr. Chris Paikuch from Hui, who is showing off his tidal gauge. It's instruments like these that are giving us in situ measurements of sea level so that we can understand what the rates of sea level rise are. This, combined with improving models and remote technologies, are allowing us to look at the sea level rise across larger scales while also ground truthing it in local areas. And so, for example, NASA in the US, they have a seawater topography model, SWOT, where they are actually measuring the height of the ocean via remote sensing. So this has allowed scientists to be able to get a better idea of how sea level is changing, and they realize how variable it is across different regions. And some other scientists at Hui are also focusing on looking at the nature-based solutions and the cost-benefit analyses. And one thing that they're really stressing is that nature-based solutions have a lot of great co-benefits. And it's actually the social aspects of having natural coastlines instead of, they call them green versus gray coastlines. So the green coastlines can offer a lot for habitat, carbon sequestration, and the intrinsic value of having a green coastline. So these are considerations that are being worked in with the oceanographic parameters because it's important to take into account what the hydrodynamic environment is of the coast to make sure that a nature-based solution makes sense for certain areas. So it's really important that we have these measurements and the data that can inform us of what areas nature-based solutions can be successful in. So at Woods Hole, there is a joint collaboration called Resilient Woods Hole. Hui leaders, scientists, as well as leaders in the community and managers have come together to form this collaboration and to analyze what is happening in Woods Hole. On the right, you can see a render of Woods Hole, and you can see it's surrounded by the water. So this is an eminent problem for our institution and for the communities that live around us. On the left, there is a picture of a workshop report. So there's these that you can gather at the reception, or you can look at the postcard, and on the back, you can scan the PDF. We definitely recognize Climate COP. We didn't want too many papers, but we have had these printed so you can help us by using what we have from previous endeavors. For this summer, we brought together leaders from Resilient Woods Hole, as well as Massachusetts as a state are having resilient plans. And we brought together scientists and policymakers to come together in a workshop and to talk about what are some of the lessons that we've learned in these different examples of how do we use science to build resilience and create mitigation and adaptation plans. And so in this workshop report, we've come together and made some different recommendations for the community, state level, national level, and the international level of what has been learned in different examples. So for now, I'll leave it at that, and we'll see, we can get into more topics in the discussion as well.
Thank you so much, Karina, for your nice presentation, and also congratulations for the project you already had working on. And now it's time to have Professor Amr Hamouda. He is president of the Marine Hazard Mitigation Center and also the vice chair of IOC UNESCO. Professor Hamouda today will talk to us. We already started with one of the main natural hazards we have, which is the sea level rise, and now we will go to another a marine hazard, which is the tsunami. Tsunami also is a very important issue that may demolish most of the coastal cities. And Professor Hamouda will talk to us about the ways for community to be prepared for against tsunami and become resilient. And he will give us a case study that we had in Egypt for Alexandria City, and also how we could integrate between the coastal resilient defense strategies to make our coastal cities safe. So please welcome Professor Hamoud.
Thank you, Dr. Suzanne, for a nice introduction and for a good, also many thanks for our partner and with the Professor Vladimir and also Garmensko and with who we are very happy that we are a partner with him. So what we are discussing now, we need to discuss about another idea about what we have in hazard in Alexandria, especially which will be announced from the Prime Minister of Johnson in COP26 about we have area of tsunami which will be Iskandariya low level, which will be under risk. So we can imagine, we can start it, how can this risk would be start? As you know, we have now Red Sea is extension of the Red Sea will be make a stress about southern of Crete and southern of Cyprus, and for this stress will be increase the activity of earthquakes. When you go for this area, we can go back here. This is the major earthquakes which will be destroyed and build the tsunami and affect about Egypt. The last hazard which will be under the Crete, it's about 1,303. The cycle will be arrive which will be 800. This is a cycle of the tsunami, prepare of tsunami. So will be nearly to the other cycle, which will be about 2000, 2010. The problem is this tsunami, we have a low level of the ground. This is another situation of Alexandria. So what we are looking here, sorry. Okay. That work. Okay, so we can imagine what is the level of Alexandria. So what we have here. So we can moving about, oh, sorry, we need to work about that. We can see the movie here. We can, I will see movie 1 minute. So we can imagine when the tsunami is coming, will be destroy a huge amount of area. Sorry, come back. Okay. Oh. The movie not work here. Okay. It's work. Maybe. Okay. So it's so we can imagine this is the area will be under the risk about Alexandria. So the level of the sea level will be highly risk about this area. So what we needed about that, we needed to increase awareness about what everything we can do, everybody when the tsunami will be start. So we have a big program with IOC and UNESCO, with under support with Vladimir, to increase the tsunami ready toward Alexandria. So I'm sorry about the movie, about the not work, you can imagine in 3D what is the tsunami will be destroyed, how much is Alexandria. So we can started now the program of the awareness of the students in the school. So what can go when the make alarm of tsunami, and we will put a siren along the coast and the formation of the government, so we can everybody know what is going when they make the alarm of the siren about tsunami. We have a good chance about Alexandria. We have about between 40 minutes to 50 minutes, because when after earthquakes will be happened, the time period for arriving the tsunami take about 40 minutes. So we have not only this, not I think this 40 minutes we can have to do something, because another country like Indonesia maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes, like Crete or like that. So we have in Alexandria we have a good chance to be ready to do something within 40 minutes. So what we are working about, increase the warning, increase about all the education about the school, and can make many program about the training that. So what we are established with the government of Alexandria, we are established to do what will be ready to do it. When we get alarm from the network, from Greece or Turkey network, and Italy, we have a different network. So we have a Get Alarm. So we'll be arrived to Marine Hazard Mitigation Center, and after that, go to the government community to inform him. And this is a communication to contact all the communication like a telephone and like a radio and the TV to announce all the government to have everybody to make what will be do it. This is a program will be training about Alexandria, and we are do it, and we are management that in Alexandria. For that, we have now a tsunami ready program which will be done in Alexandria, and the big certification for the government of Alexandria from the Dennis, who is the coordinator of this program, and observe it about what's the success of this program of tsunami toward Alexandria. So we are now tsunami, the program which will be success and will be reviewed by IOC UNESCO. And I needed to say thanks for Vladimir for support this program for his security of IOC. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Hamouda, for the nice presentation, and sorry for the technical issue for the videos. We are so sorry for that. And with his work, he helped us so much to recognize Alexandria as the first city that is tsunami resilience in all Africa. So please give him a quick applause for his continuous work to save our community from tsunami. And now it's time to have Dr. Muhammad Ali. He is the project director of Enhancing Climate Change Adaptation in the North Coast of Egypt. This project is funded by the UNDP, and also the Green Climate Fund. This is one of the major and most important national projects we had in Egypt for coastal resilience for the northern coast of Egypt, all the northern Mediterranean coast. Dr. Muhammad is joining us online, so please, could we have him on the screen now? Good afternoon.
Hello, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Muhammad. Are you hearing us well?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we are hearing you, but there is a little bit echo, so we need to...
Is that better now?
Okay. Could we share the slides also?
Yeah, I'll share the slides. Can you allow me to share the slides?
Okay. Dr. Muhammad, please mute your own microphone. To what? Switch off the sound of your microphone. ممكن تقفل الميكروفون لأن احنا بنسمع ايكو عندنا. دكتور محمد؟
أنا لو قفلت الميكروفون عندي مش هتسمعوني، مش كده؟
طب احنا سامعين كده حضرتك كويس.
طيب
تمام. Okay.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much, Dr. Suzanne, for inviting me to this session. And also I thank all the presenters for their informative presentations. What I'm going to present today is the experience that we have here in Egypt in relation to nature-based solutions, and how nature-based solutions have been used to protect the Nile Delta. As you already know, Egypt is located in the north of Africa, and it has about 3,000 kilometers of shoreline along the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. And 15 years ago, in Egypt here, governmental officials and engineers had doubts about climate change. And they were thinking that climate change and sea level rise are things for scientists to study and make research. And in 2010, actually, we had an unprecedented event in Alexandria. This event hit Alexandria and it was very, very unusual. It damaged lots of places in Alexandria, flooded the Corniche or the Promenade of Alexandria, and it was like an alert to everyone. And everyone at that time realized that there's something going on. Those events are unusual. We are not used to, so something is happening. So this was an alert for governmental officials and engineers to look at what's happening. At that time, there was a project funded by the Global Environmental Facility, and it was hosted at the National Water Research Center in Egypt. And its objective was to look at nature-based solutions and how we can use nature-based solutions to protect the lowland area in the delta from sea level rise, and in particular flooding. So the unprecedented events that hit Alexandria, along with this project, I think they paved the way to use nature-based solutions in Egypt. I think one of the first things that was done within this project is actually to speak to the local people on those areas where flooding takes place. And actually flooding takes place not only in Alexandria, but in many governorates in the Nile Delta, as shown here in the map. And so I think consultation was made with the local people, and I think they were asked the basic question that, look, in the delta, it's a lowland, it is flooded every year by present conditions, and in future this would get worse. So do you actually leave your houses, your land to flooding, or what do you do? And the local people actually provided us with a brilliant idea that we built upon to build nature-based solutions to protect the Nile Delta. So they surround their lands with the reeds, fences of reeds, and they surround the land, their houses with those reeds, the fences of reeds, and the sand that's blown by the wind, when it comes to those reeds, it actually falls apart, and it forms like small dune, like what's shown here in the photos. So it forms like small dune, and these small dunes build up, and they protect their lands and their houses from flooding. But this protection actually protects them from small events. But if there is an extreme event, something that's stronger needs to be built. So I think taking this idea, the researchers and engineers at the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, they took this idea and they improved it, and they add the engineering design to it. So we ended up using local material in one of the governorates, and those photos in the presentation shows this structure. So the structure used the dredging material from a nearby lake, Lake Parolos, which is in north of Egypt. The dredging material formed like the backbone of the structure, so it builds like a core inside the structure. Then this core was covered by the sand from the area, and then on the top of that, sand fences or reed fences was added on the top of it. And then the wind blows the sand, and then the sand accumulates on the top of this structure. At the beginning, even that we found an engineering design for it. The engineers here who are used to conventional wave protections like concrete walls, blocks, and which, as mentioned by our colleagues, expensive, and also they shift the problem rather than solving it to somewhere else. They are used to use those structures. So they had doubts about those simple structures built from those material, sand, and fences. In order to convince them, we built a pilot which was about 250 meters, to see how those structures react to extreme events from the sea. We started building them in 2015. The first structure was complete in 2016, and the outcome was amazing. The structure performed very well. In extreme events, they were intact. They were able to withstand the event. No significant erosion took place. Actually, the accumulation of sand took place, and the structure increased in width and depth as well. So we ended up with a structure which is made from local material based on the local knowledge of people, and also low cost in comparison to all those concrete and structures made from blocks, and also a living structure. So it doesn't stop when the structure is completed, but with time it uses the natural processes of sand blown by the wind, and then wind accumulating on the top of the structure. So it increases in depth and width, which is quite good when you are dealing with a phenomena like climate change, which is also increasing with time. So your structure is also a living structure that increases with time, with a phenomena that also increases with time. The success of this pilot convinced the engineers and allowed us to make this mind shift. So shift in their minds from always looking at hard structures to looking at nature-based solutions. And based on the success of this, Egypt applied for a grant from the Green Climate Fund to upscale those nature-based solutions to protect 69 kilometers of vulnerable land to flooding in the Nile Delta. The project was approved by the Green Climate Fund based on the success of the previous project, and started in 2019. 69 kilometers of nature-based solutions have been constructed here in Egypt in 5 governorates, and those nature-based solutions, the cost of them is a fraction of those concrete structure, and they provided so many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Thank you so much. And I want
many benefits.
For myself, I want to really deeply thank Dr. Mohammed for his work, because I have the honor to be one of the ambassadors for this important project, and that we all depend on in Egypt. As Dr. Mohammed just showing us that we used a totally natural-based materials to protect our coastal region. And what is really fascinating that during the last 4 to 5 years, we already had suffered from strong storm surges during winter seasons. And guess what? This natural-based solution was a really perfect solution. So this improve and confirm the success of the project. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. And now we will open the discussion for all the panelists to be here with us for a few questions. Please, if you have any question to our panelists. Yes, please.
Hello. Thanks, guys. That was fantastic and very insightful. I just got 2 questions, actually. The first is, you mentioned ocean literacy, and in some respects, thinking about this idea of nature-based solutions, is there a need to define nature-based solutions? Because that solution sounds like a sort of more organic solution, as opposed to something that's growing like mangroves or something like that. So Could you just talk about just defining and the literacy around nature-based solutions? And the second thing, the idea of what's missing from nature-based solutions. I realised this was funded from grant funding, but what mechanism is there to encourage the finance sector to get behind this, and how can you make a return? Any thoughts on that, please?
Yeah, please. Thank you, Gramenis. You could use the microphone.
When I gave my speech, I told you it's very difficult to market nature-based solution to. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we are hearing you.
To the public. But it's less difficult to market them to local communities and finance, because actually they normally represent a real win-win solution, in the sense that, with many infrastructures, it's like, okay, we have to bear the cost of new endeavors with the public budget, because otherwise the world will crumble and things like that. When you get to a nature-based solution, can I call you colleague, although she's a scientist, man. So she mentioned one magical word, which is co-benefits. Normally, around the revitalization of natural functionality, there is a chain, a cascade of beneficial effects, which are social and natural, but they're also economic. Let me give you the best one, which is not in ocean, the best one from a financial point of view. The Sahel is desertifying. It's desertifying not because of lack of water, but because the same amount of precipitations fall in a shorter period and washes away the nutrients on the. Okay. To recover 1 hectare, which is larger than an acre of land there, normally your expense is 0, because all you need to do is some small decantation holes. Normally they are half moon crescent shaped. Then you need to spend a little money, because once vegetation starts to grow, you have to fence it. Otherwise, all the goats in 100 miles perimeter will rush there if the rest is desertifying. What do you get with this $180, $200? You get a carbon absorption mechanism, at least in the first phase, that to obtain through substituting fossils with renewables, you would have to invest 1,500, 2,000 euros. Then you obtain almost immediate revitalization of biodiversity, through which you obtain fertility. And it's a strange fertility. It's the fertility that sets in motion a chain of consequences that gives sovereignty. If you recover a degraded acre of land with these methods, you don't have land which is suitable for intensive farming. Personal episode, I was overviewing a program like this, and we were in Burkina Faso. And at a certain point, an old farmer came to me very happy, holding a small branch with a smile that big. I said, until one said, we had lost this plant a long time ago, and this plant is the basis of Arabic cosmetics. Mm-hmm. You sell it in the thousands of dollars the kilo. So you let biodiversity do its job. If we don't remain framed into our way to conceive this strange economy in which we only have to make the same potatoes all over the world, and you have enough intuition to understand all the riches that come, all the social cohesion, the fact that people who had lost their livelihoods and were looking around for a new employer, possibly named Boko Haram, now have an alternative. Well, all this sounds idealistic and social, but finance understood it, and they calculate that this kind of operations give a 7% return.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Gramenis. I think Kalina could add something.
Yeah, I can add briefly. So the study I referenced earlier is by Dr. Dejan at Hui, and he did a cost-benefit analysis on the nature-based solutions as options of green to gray. And one thing that he emphasized was that these solutions can also increase the property value. And when you're weighing the options between, let's say, adaptation or managed retreat or nature-based solutions, that is something that you can actually factor into the value of that property there. So I can, speak to you more about that afterwards if you like.
I needed to explain one point. What we are looking, we have about 1,000 kilometers along the shoreline. So what is a highly hazard area is about nearly 100 kilometers. It's a delta, which will low about between 0 to 1 meter above the sea level. So what we can discuss, Egypt is a development country. So what we're looking to get the best design, natural, and with low cost is a very important, because Egypt pay many $billions to protect the shoreline, or to protect the housing and the building on the front of the shore. This is design this is a program will establish many design, and we get what is the best, which will be success, which has a low cost, and this is the main point. The second about literature, this is my friend Vladimir can talk now.
Many thanks. The mantra of this finance when it comes to protection of the coastal zone is that, and other types of protection. So basically, the cost of restoration is 10 times higher than the cost of protection. That's as simple as that. I would like also to thank Dr. Mr. Mastroianni, because, excuse me, stop teasing us. You know more than we do. So, speaking science. Thank you, Mr. Diplomat. So, I would like also to say that, it's a complicated world, it's not unjust world. And of course, when it comes to finances in the planned economy, also when it comes to finances in the market economy, are totally different. For coastal zone management that is based on nature-based solutions, I think is a very good way of dealing with the insurance and reinsurance sector, because they're looking for new markets. But unfortunately, they find that a lot of coastal areas are simply uninsurable because they're not getting their profits. So I think in that sense, some coastal zone management and planning will be quite useful and quite perspective, capitalizing on the cheap solutions and then engaging very significant financial instruments in making the whole thing more durable and sustainable.
Thank you, Vladimir. And now, just for Dr. Mohammed joining us online, please, could you add in 1 minute a wrap-up for your insight about the coastal resilience and the blue resilience?
Yeah, thanks so much, Dr. Suzanne. I think one of the good things to promote the use of nature-based solutions is that I think to involve the local community. I think in our case here for this project in Egypt, the local communities inspired the use of those nature-based solutions. I think without the brilliant idea, probably would have been in another place. So I think involving the local community is quite important because this also gives them the ownership because they own the idea. They are who actually brought the idea to us. Involving them would be helpful. Also to be able to get funding. It's always good to have evidence-based. And the use of a pilot, which was a success, I think was made the use of nature-based solutions in Egypt a quite strong case for the Green Climate Fund to fund this project as a grant as well. And thanks very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. And really, Dr. Mohammed was talking about a very important issue, is we must involve the local communities because they have great ideas. And this is a most important thing to engage them and also to make awareness and education for the new innovative that may help them. Sorry, the time runs so quickly. And I have to thank you all for joining our session today about the blue resilience and adaptation for the coastal communities. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for the Ocean Pavilion for giving us this opportunity to have this important session and topic. Thank you so much. See you.